So this morning, we're jumping back into Luke chapter 15. It's a series of parables. And the one we're dealing with today has to do with this question of what makes something valuable. What makes it, whether it's a person, a place, or an object, what is it that gives it value, that makes it valuable to us? When I was a kid, I was really, really good at taking things apart. Because I'm not good at putting them back together, I'm not an engineer. I just like to take things apart, and I have no idea what to do with them from there. I took apart my bike. I took apart every electronic thing that I could get my hands on. Anything that got put into my hands, I would take it apart because I was just curious how it worked. I also had a lot of items that were my dad's in my room when I was a kid. I had his 8-track machine with his Bad Company tapes. Why he liked Bad Company, I have no idea, but it was the only 8-track tapes I had in my bedroom. I had his baseball glove that had like the Wade Boggs stamped signature on the inside. And I had this 8-inch tall bronze Superman statue. Why? Like, I liked it because it was my dad's. I didn't really care about Superman or comic books, but it was my dad's. And so I had this statue. It was just him, like, hands on hips, standing there being Superman. And one day I'm sitting in my room. I'm probably around 10, 11 years old, and I look at it, and I'm like, I wonder what's on the inside of that statue. And so I take that statue and I start banging it on the ground. I start hitting it, just trying to get it to break because I want to know what's on the inside. And it snapped at the calves. Both his legs broke off. And I, to this day, have no idea what was on the inside. And the reason I don't know is because when my dad came home that afternoon, he walked into my room and he sat down on my bed and he was asking me lots of questions of like, why did you do what you did? And like most 10 or 11-year-old boys, I was like, I don't know. We just did it. It's true. I have no idea. Just thought it'd be fun. And then he says something like this to me. He says, Jacob, when I was little, I would travel to Florida to spend time with my grandpa Matt a lot. And that statue was the last thing I had from him. Man. If I hadn't felt shame and guilt before, I definitely did in that moment. That my own curiosity had broken this thing that was priceless to my dad. And it wasn't priceless because it had like this great monetary value. I don't even know what it was made out of. It might have been plastic for all I know. But it was special. It was priceless to him because it was a thing that he had gotten from his grandpa. Something that was given to him by someone he's loved. And because of the relationship, this thing all of a sudden had value. Monetary worth, what something's worth, is one way to value something. But there's something much deeper than that. There's something that happens when an item we own, a place we go, or even relationship, when it's connected to people we love, there's this deeper value to it than just what it's worth for someone to buy it. It's why when you go to estate sales and things like that, things always seem a little bit overpriced because they mean so much to the people that have them. Because there's a relational connection to it. And I think this is universal. This isn't just something that existed with a Superman statue. This week I asked Facebook, the people that I know on Facebook, do you have an object that is priceless to you and has little to no monetary value? And 23 people responded. And the items were immeasurably more valuable to the person than they ever would be to any of us trying to get that item from that person. And it's all surrounded by the relationship connected to it. Wallets and necklaces, jackets and postcards, love notes and egg timers. Every single item that was brought up was more priceless than the monetary value. And this concept is at the core of the scripture we're going to look at this morning. This idea of something being valuable because of the relationship connected to it, being more valuable because of it, extends well beyond items, well beyond things. The concept of something's value dramatically exceeding what someone else thinks extends to our very worth as human beings. Our value is people. This morning we'll see this, that our value is derived from who we belong to. Your value as a human being, what makes you worth, where you derive, it all comes from who you belong to. Who you belong to. As we continue in Luke this morning, we're in chapter 15, so if you have a paper or digital Bible, you can flip there. And we're in the center of these 3 different parables that Jesus gives. Last week, Mac brought us through the lost sheep. The sheep that was lost and needed a shepherd to leave the other ones behind and go rescue it. In the next 2 weeks, Jody and Mac will walk us through the lost sons or the prodigal God story. Prodigal father. And this week we're going to deal with the one in the middle. It's kind of the one that gets sandwiched in between and forgotten about. It's a woman and the lost coin. And all these parables have to do with the Pharisees, because at the beginning of chapter 15, we see that Jesus is sitting and he's surrounded by tax collectors and sinners, it said. And it says this, but the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. The religious experts were at the top of the religious and social ladder of first century Israel. They were the most important people in their society. And they made sure to only associate with those who fit their social and religious constructs of being good enough, kept them in that position. Jesus, on the other hand, welcomed those who were called sinners, those who were the outsiders according to the religious experts. He sat and talked with them, and even worse than that, he ate with them. This was a deeply intimate thing in the first century. It showed a connection and a belonging to each other that the religious leaders were not willing to engage in with those people, the sinners. At the center of it, the Pharisees assumed that God loves certain people and not others, that they were the born-again chosen ones of the day. And so Jesus' behavior is incredibly frustrating to them. So Jesus responds, he knows that they're muttering, he has this whole crowd of both the sinners and the Pharisees around him, and he tells these three parables, these three stories. And what he's pointing out is, listen, your ultimate struggle here isn't me. The problem that's creating this tension and frustration in your life isn't me and eating with sinners. Your frustrations come from an inaccurate view of who God is, of what God is like. The frustration comes from the Pharisees' picture of what kind of a God God is. In all three parables in this chapter, he's giving the people gathered, both the tax collectors and sinners and the Pharisees and religious elite, he's given them these metaphors to give them depth and clarity on what he is doing and what kind of a God God actually is. So this morning, as we dig into the lost coin, we're going to begin in verse 8. It says, or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin. In the same way I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of angels of God over one sinner who repents. So the silver coin that's mentioned here is a drachma. It's a Greek drachma. It's the peasant's minimum daily wage. It's 1 day's wages, 1 day of minimum wage in the society. So not a ton of money, right? Just little bits. But when she notices it's missing, she lights a lamp and starts sweeping the house, looking for the glint of reflection off the coin in the candlelight, or hearing the coin dance along the floor as it's dislodged or moved by the broom. Most theologians believe that the lighting of the lamp shows that this happened at night, and she doesn't wait till morning where there's going to be more light that would help her find it easier. So why though? Why doesn't she just wait till morning if it's just a day's wage? It's in her house. No one else is going to come and take it. Why doesn't she wait? This question is just one of the questions that we have to deal with and answer to understand what Jesus is doing here. Why does he even use a woman as the illustration in this parable? Why is it a woman in the house and not a man in the house? What's going on there? Jesus will do both throughout Luke, but it's more common to give illustrations of men. It's just the way it was in a patriarchal society. Why a drachma? Why this insignificant coin instead of something super valuable? If you told me, hey, I lost a quarter and I spent tons of time and energy sweeping the house and looking in the couch cushions trying to find it, that's kind of weird. A couple $100, yeah, I could get on board with that. Why a drachma? Why this just 1 day's wage thing? Why 10 coins? Why not 5? Why not 100? Why not 1,000 coins? Why is it 10 coins? Why is she so frantic? If this is her life saving or it's something that valuable to her, she's even using expensive oil to find it. There's a good chance that the oil, lighting the lamp, the oil expended is worth more than the thing she's seeking. Why does she go and wake up her friends and neighbors at night to celebrate the finding of this little thing, this coin? There's something deeply personal going on here. Her frantic search, her expending of resources, leaving no corner of the house unturned. Her expansive joy and inclusion of the community and her celebration once the coin is found. When a peasant couple was married in Palestine, the groom would give his bride either a necklace or a headdress, depending on what part of Palestine, with 10 silver coins in it on their wedding day. It functioned like our wedding rings do today. So this necklace, it's her wedding ring. The 10 silver coins, the one she's like, my coins, they're her wedding coins. This is why she calls and throws a party. This is why. Because these are priceless to her, not because of their monetary value. It's just 10 days' wages, 1 day missing. But because of what they mean. These coins, this necklace, they symbolize the dreams and aspirations, the hopes and memories of her marriage. It symbolizes all of that. They serve as a physical reminder of the pledge that her and her husband made to each other. She has got to find it, which has nothing to do with the monetary value. Jesus shares this parable to reveal to the Pharisees what God is like. And this parable points to something that was true of the Pharisees and is true of all humans throughout history. The Pharisees had bought into a system of evaluation that assessed some people as sinners who are less than and unloved by God. And then the religious elite themselves, they believed they were like the diamonds in the economy of God's love. We're the ones God loves, those drachmas, those guys over there. No, he doesn't have enough love for them. He only has enough love for us. They engaged in this looking at society, looking at the people around them, and evaluating people on a bunch of different things that society determined what make them good enough or righteous, and all these different things. They engaged in a system of evaluation to put themselves on top and other people on the bottom. Every culture has a way of doing this, of determining the worth of things and of people. It's literally what the word evaluate means. To evaluate is to assign value or worth or significance to something. Every person, every culture, and every subculture does this, and most of the time it's happening subconsciously. We're not sitting in our houses coming up with lists of who's good and who's not. It's something that happens just as we live our lives in a culture. It happens in a lot of ways with us. It happens with celebrities. If you're a celebrity or somebody famous, there's just something about the cultural power you have. People listen more. It's why when any celebrity espouses any sort of a faith statement in Christianity, most Christians lose their mind to make sure everybody know that he's on our team. Like his faith, her faith, is more valid or more important than any other human beings. But that celebrity is on our side. Like if Aaron Rodgers or Giannis was speaking at a church 10 miles away today, and I gave them this iPad and they said the same things, 95% of you would be there instead of here. I get it. I might too. Because we do this thing with a celebrity that they're just more important. They're more important. And we do it in the church. We do it with pastors. We put them on this pedestal like they're this big deal. I know a church in Michigan, and the speaker, the lead pastor, is the most gifted communicator I've ever heard in my life. And at the high point of that ministry, people were driving 3 hours each way every Sunday to listen to him. Oh, man, just to listen and under his teaching, I'll waste my entire Sunday and engage with no human beings because he's so important. Celebrities carry this higher cultural currency. We do it with wealth. If somebody has significant wealth, their cultural currency goes up, and automatically the things they say matter a little bit more than those who don't. We do it with people who are more attractive based on whatever attractive means today, because that's a constantly changing thing. We do it with people who achieve a lot or do something heroic or they're more educated. We do it with our current understandings of what healthy is. Throughout much of history, to be a little bit overweight was actually considered a really good thing because it showed you had the resources to actually be overweight. You had the money to overeat. So throughout a lot of human history, that was actually considered better, more attractive. Even the book of Daniel, when we read in Daniel that in the first chapter that he submits himself to these Babylonian leaders like, hey, listen, I think our diet will be better than yours. Can we try this for a month? And it comes back and says, yep, they were more healthy. The word healthy in Hebrew literally means fatter. But we've impressed our system of like, well, healthy means skinny and cut. And so, yeah, that's not what they thought back then. System of health. Or what about smoking, right? Decades and decades ago, it was like the coolest thing to do. Everybody was doing it. There's pregnancy books Saying like a great way for mom and baby in utero to relax at the end of the day is a cigarette. Now we can say that's so dumb, because we know now, but back then that was great. It was the health advice of the day. There's a cultural currency that exists with gender even within the church. There's just something that exists. My wife and I were in a small group one time, and we had gone a couple weeks, and she was coming back kind of frustrated. I'm like, can you tell me what's happening? She's like, I say something and nobody responds. You repeat me word for word, and everyone acts like it's the greatest thing they've ever heard. And I'm like, come on, that's not true. And the next Sunday, I tried it spot on word for word, and it happened. Because I'm a man and a pastor? It's the same idea. One of my favorite people to follow on Twitter right now is Beth Moore, and she was catching a bunch of flack for things she was saying a couple of weeks ago, and so she tweeted this. I need to say something, y'all. She's from Texas. I don't know how to do Texas. Jody should have read this. When I sound all bossy and over the top, I'm not talking down to you. Forgive me when it sounds that way. I made every conceivable mistake, blew it so badly, learned so much the brutal way. I wish an easier way for you. I just want us to all make it. A bunch of men and women from all around the country, well-known theologians to people that are just on Twitter, basically said, hey, you've never sounded bossy or over the top to me. And an Anglican pastor from Toronto said this. He said, let's also be real for a second and acknowledge that no male Christian leader ever has to fear about being perceived as bossy or over the top. They can be both, but still get introduced on the conference stage as a man of godly conviction who's not afraid to speak the truth. We don't talk about bossy men. There's these standards that exist in our culture, and we evaluate people based on them, and it just happens. Across the large spectrum of conservative and liberal churches all throughout America, there's a hierarchy of sins that get created. These are the ones that are acceptable, that we're kind of just say, yeah, those exist. But these ones, no, not those ones. It's okay to have hatred in your heart, to have violent feelings towards others, but don't drink and smoke and chew. It's okay to be greedy, to gossip, to hoard resources, to be filled with pride and to slander others because their theology isn't correct and ours is. Those sins are okay. You see, all these things, from celebrity to religiosity, these things are happening around us unconsciously. We're not making lists. We're not sitting in rooms writing down the things that fit in this scale for us. It's the air we breathe. It's the water we're swimming in. It's just how we think in our culture today. We have these arbitrary systems to evaluate when someone fits within and where someone fits within the cultural hierarchies, cultural ladders of the day. In Jesus' time, the Pharisees, they were invested in protecting the current system because they're on top. It feels good to be on top. So they're invested in things not changing. This is one of the reasons I think Jesus makes them so angry, because when Jesus comes on the scene at 30 years old and he starts teaching and everyone's like, dude, this guy's an incredible teacher, and crowds start coming and he's doing all these miracles. If the Pharisees can get Jesus on their team, just think how much that raises their cultural currency. Like, this guy's going to make it even better for us. He's incredible. And then Jesus starts hanging out with those people. And he starts critiquing the elites. He's hanging with the perceived lowlives, the drachmas. And Jesus is saying in these parables, he's saying with the life he lived to the religious elite, to the born-again people of the day, you've got the wrong picture of God, and therefore the wrong picture of the kingdom, and the wrong picture of who God loves and is coming for. You got the wrong picture. You are taking this evaluation system from the culture at large and placing it upon God, and completely overlooking the fact that everyone, from diamond people to drachma people, every single person, the lesser than and the left behind, they have a personal meaning to God that has nothing to do with how they fit in the evaluation systems of the day. Their value is derived from who they belong to, and they all belong to Him. Every human is limitlessly valuable to God. Every single human. Their value does not go up and down based on the societal rules of the day or public opinion of how good or bad they are. Just like the coin, they are priceless because of the value the Creator fixes upon them. Just like the statue, It's valued because of the relational connection to those it belongs to. Their value is derived from whom they belong to. Your value is derived from who you belong to. You see, God created humanity to be the bride of Christ. We are the gift that expresses the perfect love of the triune God, and we're created to participate in the love of the Trinity here and now. Like the coin necklace and the peasant woman, we are created to embody the hopes and the dreams and the aspiration of God in this world. Those who have been found by God, who are living a life, living life for Him, are meant to embody the hopes and dreams and aspirations of God Almighty to show the whole world who He is. This is why God goes a little bit crazy when one coin is missing. He lights a lamp and sweeps the floor. He searches in the couch cushions and even the corner part that you have to stick your hand into and find all the gross stuff. He turns the house upside down. That's why He wakes the neighbors and all of the angels when one coin is found and says, "Celebrate with me." He leaves heaven and He takes on flesh. He takes on the shame and the rejection and the pain of the cross. Why? Because He's looking for His precious, precious coins, which is every human being. Every human being is limitlessly valuable to God. Every single one. Our value is derived from who we belong to. So there's this part of us as human beings that is really good of using these systems towards other people, creating hierarchies of who's good, who's bad, and looking towards other people. But the flip of this is we're really good at using these same hierarchies against ourselves. Each and every one of us is tempted to view ourselves according to the evaluation system of the day. I don't have enough influence. My house isn't big enough. I don't have a retirement or a savings account. My car's rusty. I'm not pretty enough. My body shockingly has changed as I got older. Like that's not supposed to happen. There's all these things. And we start to derive our value and feel less than because of the things that have been set up arbitrarily, unconsciously in the society around us and feel that we're like less valuable. Just like the Pharisees, when we do this, we assume that God is interacting with us in this way. Like He's sitting up in heaven as the cosmic evaluator with some sliding scale of what's good enough as a human being. And maybe if I just do enough things, then I'll feel my worth from Him. Then I'll understand how much He loves me. And the whole system and game we're playing makes it impossible to actually see it. Because He doesn't play that game. You were created to embody the hope, the dreams and aspirations of God. And He's sweeping the whole house, going a little bit crazy because He has to find you. Because you matter to Him more than you can ever imagine. He's willing to die for you, was willing and did. He's got to find you. You know, there's seasons in our faith journeys. For some of us, being found for the first time is a huge thing, and we can look backwards. Some of us don't feel that way today. But even for some of us, like I'm someone who I've been trying to follow Jesus for about 20 years, and I still have seasons in my journey where I feel like a lost coin. Like this inanimate object that has no ability to do anything about his lostness, but just feeling disconnected and alone and not sure what's going on. And to be honest, this has been really like present in my life lately. This feeling lost, feeling disconnected from God. And I try to muster the strength and muster the faith to experience His love. When I do that, the voices of doubt and the voices of the evaluation system of the day are oppressively loud. And so I just start to try to work harder. I try to fix it on my own. And that's the problem. I'm trying to fix it on my own. The coin is an inanimate object. It has no ability to fix itself. It has no ability to make itself found. When a sheep is lost by itself in the middle of the desert, it will stand still and not know what to do. The shepherd has to go find it. This lostness, when I'm in this space, I'm trying to will myself into being found, and it's just not how it works. At some point in the last 2 weeks, I found this poem by a 13th century theologian named Meister Eckhart. He says this: I often think it is my work to find you. And in the tangle of my life, I stumble into branches of doubt in pits of uncertainties and wonder where you are hiding. And then I remember, you seek and I am found. You seek and I am found. God is the one doing the seeking. We are the ones that find ourselves lost. And he finds us. And one of the reasons I think this is really hard for us to understand is that we live in a very finite world, right? Like our resources, our time, and energy, there's a finite amount of them. Our time, our money, our energy, our talents, our attention, all of it's limited, so I have to ration them. I have to make sure my family is getting as best as I can, and I fail off, and this is the best of me, my time and my attention. That my job's getting that the people around me, my friendships are getting that. And so I have to ration these things in my life, my time and attention, my talents, my money. I have to ration it all because there might not be enough. We have to think about how to best use these things. But you see, this is because we live in this world where things are finite, where everything has a zero sum to it. At the end of the day, it's got to equal zero. If you had an unlimited amount of money, like a legitimately unlimited amount of money has no meaning anymore. Because if it's unlimited, no matter what you spend, you can just keep doing more. And so it loses all the meaning that it has for us today because I don't have to chase after it anymore. It's just there. It just is. It's only because it's finite do I have to think about it the way that I do. God is limitless love. God is infinitely limitless love. He doesn't love like we buy things where there's only so much to go around. He doesn't have to evaluate and shop over humanity and ration his love to make sure it doesn't run out. He's infinite, bottomless, perfect, compassionate love. It's who he is. And he loves you as if you're the only one there is to love. And this very moment is the only moment he has to express that. He loves you as if you're the only one there is to love. And like this moment is the only moment he has to love you. And that love exists every second, day after day, from now through eternity. His love, God himself, is limitless. Any element of our brain that compares and contrasts when it comes to worth, whether it's ourselves or towards other people, is utterly, utterly out of place. It's antithetical to who God is. And when we listen to those voices, we block the flow of God's love into our lives. We separate ourselves from it because we start to listen to the evaluative systems of the day. I'm not good enough. They're not good enough. And we completely miss the point. Our comparisons and judgments of others, our comparisons and judgments of ourselves lose all meaning. There's no point to them when we understand that God's love for us is limitless. There's nothing you can do today, positive, negative, somewhere in between, that changes the amount of love God has for you. It's infinitely available. I think this passage has a lot to say about us as like a corporate, like us as a church as well. These parables point out the way that we often look at others. When Jesus spoke these parables, he was answering the question of the Pharisees of what God is really like. And he did so by giving these metaphors, right, to give some depth and some understanding. He's telling the Pharisees, you have an incorrect view of God, and it's tainting the way you view humanity. We follow a Jesus-looking God. We're called to be a Jesus-looking people and to engage the world in a Jesus-looking way. This is a continual challenge for me. The following a Jesus-looking God, that part like revolutionized my faith and gave it a freedom that did not exist until I started to see that Jesus is the full representation of God. And so everything Jesus is who God has always been. That was revolutionary for me. So I get that part. Becoming a Jesus-looking people starts to feel a little more hard. I know the Pharisaical tendencies in my heart. I know the sliding scales that I have for people based on a ton of different things that makes them more or less valuable in my mind. and to become a Jesus-looking person, to become a Jesus-looking people. It's inviting him in to reveal those things and repenting of it. And to engage the world in a Jesus-looking way, man, I feel like I got some imaginative gridlock of what that even means. Not sure. Because this is something I think that the Western church, and I can only speak to the Western church because it's all I'm a part of, but the American church has really struggled with, not doing so well with, engaging the world in a Jesus-looking way. Tim Keller was a pastor in Manhattan, New York City, and he said it this way: Jesus' teaching consistently attracted the irreligious while offending the Bible-believing religious people of his day. However, in the main, our churches today do not have this effect. The kind of outsiders Jesus attracted are not attracted to contemporary churches, even our most avant-garde ones. We tend to draw conservative, buttoned-down, moralistic people. The licentious and liberated or the broken and marginal avoid church. That can only mean one thing. If the preaching of our ministers and the practice of our parishioners do not have the same effect on people that Jesus had, then we must not be declaring the same message that Jesus did. It's kind of offensive to me to read that. It's hard. And I think when it comes down to, guys, this is it. You and I cannot embody the heart of God to others until we see and experience ourselves as the lost coin. That we see and experience and know we're the lost coin. We're the lost sheep. And when we do that, God will work with us and show us the ways that we use the evaluation systems of the day, whether inside the church, whether in the cultural life, all around us, to draw lines and create hierarchies. When we experience his limitless love, he will work with us in rooting out all the Pharisee-like tendencies of our hearts. We follow a Jesus-looking God. We're called to be a Jesus-looking people and to engage the world in a Jesus-looking way. You know, each and every week when we close our messages here, we have like action steps, right? Some homework. And this morning's no different. But before we leave this space, we're actually going to engage in one of the practices together. We're going to do it together this morning. I want to create some space for us to imagine ourselves as the lost coin. Okay? For some of you, this is probably going to be like insanely awkward because you haven't used your imagination in a long time. And you're annoyed that I'm even bringing it up. It's okay. But I'm going to ask you to engage this, okay? So take some space, get comfortable in your seat where you're not thinking about how your body's sitting. Usually it's good to have both feet on the floor so you just feel connected and rooted to it. And then close your eyes. Seriously, close your eyes. I'm not going to pull any tricks. Close your eyes. Start taking some deep, slow breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. When you breathe in, breathe to the level that you can feel your chest rising up into your shoulders because your lungs are getting that full with oxygen. And when you exhale, imagine the stresses and anxieties, the things that are happening later today or have happened before this morning, leaving. And just be present in this moment. Imagine yourself as a coin. You're not where you're supposed to be. Usually you're among a community of other coins, but not now. Right now you're alone. You're on a hard, rough dirt floor. It's pitch black and it's cold. You're completely unable to do anything about the situation you find yourself in. You're lost and alone. All of a sudden, a small light pierces the darkness. A small lamp is lit on the other side of the room, and in the dim light, like that of a single candle, you can see the face of Jesus. His face is filled with concern and with purpose. He quickly moves towards the corner and grabs a broom. He starts sweeping the floor on the other side of the room, intently listening for the hint of a sound of a coin jingling along the floor as it's dislodged. His eyes are fixed on the faint light on the floor as it moves across. He's searching the room with the intensity of a parent looking for a child in a smoke-filled, burning room. He gets closer and closer. And as the light first glances upon you, you see his face so clearly. The anxiety and concern disappears, and there's just complete, unbridled, uncontainable joy on his face. He reaches down, he scoops you up, and restores you to the community of coins you belong to. And he just rejoices. He goes bursting out of the house with the necklace, and you as the coin in his hand, waking up all the neighbors, inviting them to celebrate loudly with him, because though you were lost, you're found. You matter this much to him. Will you trust it? There's no comparison game or evaluation system. He loves you in this moment as if you were the only one he had to love. And this was the only moment he had to love you. Receive his love. Abandon the judgments and comparisons. Allow yourself to be found. You guys can open your eyes. I hope this gives you some handles to how to engage this throughout the week, how to place yourself into this story, and understand that you're a coin, you're a lost sheep, and God will spare he's coming after you to the point that he's willing to give himself and did give himself for you. When you engage this on your own, it's usually good to have a good break of reflection time at the end. I just didn't want to ruin anyone's Mother's Day lunch. So we exited out of that before I got too awkward. But this is your action steps, your homework for the week. Spend some time imagining being the lost coin that God finds and celebrates. Get some handles for that now. If that feels weird since you already did it, go back and do the sheep this week. That's fine. And secondly, spend some time with Jesus, asking him to reveal what attitudes and behaviors in your life match that of the Pharisees, that he'd root it out in us, that we would become a people whose reputation in the community is that we love people. And the religious elite all around us were driven crazy by the way we did it. Would you guys stand with me? May the limitless love of God the Father fill our hearts and minds, and his embrace hold us when we feel lost and unworthy to be called his children. May the friendship of Jesus, our companion, rid us of any notion that we are nothing, and may we find our home with him in his kingdom. May the Spirit of life release us from the evaluation systems of our time, so that a new joy wells up in our lives. Let us go enjoying God's work in our friendships, in our workplaces, in our families, in our streets and neighborhoods, and all throughout the world. Amen. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.